Hello everyone, it's Jennifer and I am back with another video. Today I actually wanted to do a video on how to make dresses in The Sims 4, and that's basically what this video is going to be about today. So I won't do a long introduction like I did on the last video, so I'm just basically going to go ahead and get started by showing you guys the things that you're going to need in order to make dresses for The Sims 4. So the first thing that I have pulled up here, you're going to need Sims 4 Studio. That is basically the most important thing that you're going to need in order to make custom content in The Sims 4 in general. But basically, as I always say in all my videos, you'll know you're in the right place when you see this crow on the side. You'll scroll down and you're going to see here where you can download, and you can download either of these ways. I always use the zip, download the zip, and then use my unzipping software to unzip it and run it as an administrator. You're going to at least need Blender 2.70, which is here, and Blender 2.79 or later. You can also use basically 2.76 as well. I prefer to use 2.79. So you're going to need 2.70 for one thing, and then you're going to need 2.79 basically for everything else. Now you can also download 2.80 and 2.90 or one of those as well. And that can just be downloaded when you're doing like the texturing and, you know, putting a material on your mesh after you've made it. But you don't necessarily have to have either one of those, because actually I prefer to use 2.79 for everything. So there's that. You will need some sort of 2D picture editing software. And I always like to, you know, talk about paint.net, which is what I use in most of my videos because it's very user friendly. And then GIMP, which is another one that I like to use. Either way, you need one of these. I use these for different things, so you can download both. And remember, like I said on my previous video, if you did watch that one, if not, you can have multiple blenders and multiple 2D editing softwares on your computer at once. I also do have Photoshop. I just don't really like Photoshop. So you will also certainly need Marvelous Designer, which has decided to disappear from me. So let me pull him back up. But you're going to need Marvelous Designer, and that is the software where you will actually create your mesh. That's where we're going to start. So as this gets loaded up, there we go, it doesn't take too long. This is what it's going to look like when you open it up. Now, as I've stated before, Marvelous Designer is not a free software. However, there is a way that you can download it for free. I will not be showing you how to do that in this video, since I would like this video to stay up, but I will link a video that will show you how to do that. Outside of that, basically that's it. Marvelous Designer, definitely. Sims 4 Studio, definitely. Blender, most certainly. 2.79 and 2.70. So those are the things that you're going to need in order to make Sims 4 clothing, and specifically, as we're making today, a dress in The Sims 4. Okay, so now we're in Marvelous Designer and we're just going to jump right in. The first thing that you're going to need once you get in Marvelous Designer, you're going to need an avatar. So you're going to need basically a sim to draw your clothes on. So we're going to go to File, you're going to go to Add, you're going to go to Avatar, and then we're making a dress for a female today, so we're going to click female, but as you see here is male, female, and child. And in the description box, I will include basically this folder of the avatars, just in case you do not already have them. So as you see, once we've clicked that, an avatar has pulled up. And you can see this is 3-dimensional plane, and this is a 2-dimensional plane. And it's the same avatar. One is just 3D, one is just 2D. And so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and, well, first let me just kind of show you how to move around in this program. I did this on my last video, but just briefly, I'm going to go into it. So when you first open Marvelous Designer, you're scrolling, you're zooming in and out, it's going to be backwards. So scrolling inward is going to take you zooming out, and scrolling outward is going to make you zoom in. We don't necessarily want that way, so if you would like to fix that and you're not quite sure how, we're going to go to Settings, user settings, view controls. Right here where it says direction, where it says backwards, we're going to go to forward and we're going to close. Now when we zoom in, we go in. When we zoom out, we actually go out. So if we wanted to grab the screen and move like this, you're just going to hold down your middle scrolly part on your mouse, and that's going to move you around the plane. If you wanted to rotate, you're just going to use your right click, hold it down, and rotate. And that is mainly it. If you want to click on your avatar, you just click, going about your day. Now, on this end, really the only things we need is to move around the plane, which is just holding down your middle scrolly and moving around and zooming in and out. Now, let's say before we get started, you don't like this gray color, because sometimes this color and the color of the fabric, which is just white, can kind of clash. And so if you want this to kind of stand out more, you can change the color of your avatar. What you'll do, click on a certain portion of the avatar, go over here to property editor where it says color. You can choose whatever color you want. We're going to make her this color today. And just click on the different parts and just change the color like that. Oh, Lord. Oh, I meant to change it to this color. Either way, you see how to do that. And so once that's done, we're going to start creating our dress. Now, I have somewhat of an inspiration for what I want to do, but we're just going to do something very simple. This is not really meant to be a hard one. We're just going to create a simple dress. So we're going to go ahead and go up here. And up here, we're going to grab this. This is the polygon tool. Click on that. And what I like about the polygon tool, you can just draw straight on this with points. You can't just draw like, with a crayon or something, but you can just click. So say we want to point here. We want to point here. We want this to go about there. And here in Marvelous Designer, this is Marvelous Designer 9. You can go all the way, you can go all the way down. But the thing I like is when you're in the middle, usually it'll turn pink to let you know you're right on the center line. And that's usually automatic. So let's go about here. No, let's make this a shorter one. Let's go here. And it'll also make a straight line when you go this way. About here is fine. I'm gonna go here, 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 and then here. So there. And now with the polygon tool, we just clicked, left click, and placed points. Very simple. So now there's one side. As you know, we're going to need another side. Let's go ahead and go to this tool right here, the edit pattern tool. We're going to click on it. And we're going to go over here to this point in the middle. We're going to right click. Now we can press unfold, or we can press unfold symmetric editing with sewing. The difference between the two, unfold is going to make it have another side, but unfold with symmetric editing and sewing, if we press that, that means that when we get ready to sew this together, whatever we sew over here, we'll sew over here, whatever we sew here, over here, and so forth. Basically, the sewing will become automatic on both sides. That's going to make it very easy for us. And since this is just a very simple tutorial, we're going to click that one. And as you see, there we go. We have unfolded, and now we have the front of our dress. Now, of course, we want a back to our dress. So what are we going to do? We're going to click this tool, and we're going to click on our mesh so far. Right click, copy, right click, paste. And you can just paste that. It'll paste in line if you get it to match up to where the other one is. And you'll see these pink lines. You can just press that. Now, of course, we need this to get over here. Now, this right here is a gizmo. And in any 3D program, what this gizmo is going to do is make it easier for you to move around the plane precisely. You can move it up. You can move it side to side. You can turn it. You can turn it this way. You can turn it that way. Now, if we don't like what we just did, there's something we can do to bring it back to how we had it before. and that is pressing Control Z. So Control on your keyboard with Z until you see it get back to the way it's supposed to be. Now, we didn't necessarily just want to do that. We didn't want to delete it. So let's go over here to our history tab and go back to paste. And there we have it. And then we could just close that history tab up. Now we're going to press it, bring it back, bring it over until it's about good enough. Let's pull that in a little bit. Now, as you can see here, we have two back faces. This back face is facing the body, which is correct. This back face, or inward face, I guess we could say, is facing out, and it should not be. So there's two different ways we can get this to turn. We can click on it, and we can either press flip normal or flip horizontally. I usually just press flip normal. It does the same thing. And now the inward faces are where they're supposed to be. And we can bring this a little closer. Now, getting to the sewing portion. If we want to go ahead and sew this, we can either sew over here or we can sew over here. If you use Marvelous Designer 9, which is the one that I highly suggest using, you can go ahead and sew over here, which is, I find that much easier. Over here it can get kind of confusing because it's kind of like a mirror effect, if you will. So remembering that this side is actually, see, as you can see, it's like when I click over here, you see in the 3D plane, it's actually the other side and vice versa. And that can get a little confusing. So me, I prefer to sew on this side. Now, when we're sewing, we want to make sure if we press this side of the sewing line, we get over here and press this side. And as you see, since we used Unfold with symmetric editing and sewing, one side does the same thing on the other side. So we're going to go over here, press right here, and I'm just left clicking. And you want to make sure these don't crisscross. The reason I'm telling you, if you press up here, you want to press up here on the other side is because if you don't, this is what's going to happen to you. And that's going to create what I call a black hole. It's basically going to, like, the fabric's going to start trying to eat itself, which is not what we want. So we're going to go ahead and Control Z. Press up at the top on both sides. Up at the top on both sides. And there we go. So how do we get this to come together? Very simple. We're going to go ahead and press this button over here, this down arrow, or you can press the space bar on your keyboard, and that's the simulate button. And there we have a dress. Now, this looks weird, doesn't it? Unless you're going for a specific style, I don't believe you want this to be this way. We aren't trying to make a Star Trek dress today, at least not right now. I actually might use this for later. Now, once we have this, there's a few things that we're going to want to do. And the first thing is save this as a project. Now, again, like I said in my last video, I do make adult content. Don't be laughing at any of these names. So let me go ahead and let's just make this Johnny dress. The last one was Johnny shirt. Let's make this Johnny dress. So we have our Johnny dress, or you can name it tutorial dress, your own name dress, whatever you want to name it. And that has been saved as a project. So that way, if Marvelous Designer should shut down or something crazy happen, at least we have the base of it saved, and then we can go from there. So now, we don't want these Star Trek pieces on here. So we're going to get this tool right here again, the edit pattern tool with the 3 dots. I'm going to click on this, and we're going to delete. And we can honestly click on this side and press delete again. Now, this is a dress, and I'm imagining that we want this kind of curvy, right? So what we can do is go up here to this tool, edit curvature, click on that, and kind of make it curve out a little bit. Same thing on this side. Doesn't have to be exact on both sides, but if it kind of looks about the same, you're on the right track. So let's go ahead and simulate. There we go. Very easy. So now is where we basically have our main mesh done. Very simple and easy. Now we can go up to the file and just save project again. That way, as we're making changes, we're saving it. And I advise that in Marvelous Designer, Blender, Sims 4 Studio, and everything, because sometimes, especially in Sims 4 Studio, if you've done like multiple swatches of a dress or an outfit or something and then you forget to save and you press cancel, it's not going to save your progress. It's just not. So I definitely recommend whatever program you're using, save as you go. Now you might notice this hand right here with this little blue ball in it. Don't take that the wrong way. And you can actually come over here and grab this. So you saw that there was a hole, or what we call clipping, and I just kind of grabbed it out. Same thing here. This becomes a grab hand. Once you simulate, this becomes a grab. And we can just kind of grab it. Now, if you're grabbing and the holes are not coming out, there's something else we can do. But first, let's go ahead and just kind of edit this a little more. So say I want a little bit more. I want this to be just a little bit lower. Click on this point. Make sure you click on this point, because if you just click on this, the whole thing is going to come down. Click on this specific point and kind of drag a little bit. Simulate. And let's see. Now here, I want this to be a little curvier. So I'm going to curve this way. Let's see what this looks like. Simulate. I'm kind of enjoying that. Got a little cleavage out. I like that. Let's see about the back. The back I don't mind as much. See, this is what I said. Make sure you grab the specific point you want, or else this is what's going to happen. And that's not what we want. So we're going to Control Z. Now, I'm going to grab the point, bring it down a little. Let's see what we're looking like. Let's edit the curvature on it. Now, you don't have to do these little tweaks that I'm doing. You don't necessarily have to do that if this is not the look you're going for. But this is, and I kind of feel like I want to bring it back up. Kind of want that curvature going down a little bit. And we can do that with this tool right here. So if you didn't catch what I just did, it's Control Z. With this tool right here, with this tool, you can just edit the curvature of one point. This one right here, you kind of edit the curve point itself. So if the curve point was initially here, and then you can do a point here and make this go this way. So now you have this bit going on. Go ahead, simulate. Now, as you see, the boobs are out. I do make adult content, but this is not that. So we just grab that out and there we go. This looks quite a bit better. Now I kind of want this to come up a little, just to come in a little bit more. I just want to see what that's looking like. Let's see. There we go. We're looking a little better. Now, to get rid of all the clipping once and for all, there's a few things we can do, because as you can see, we're clipping here and we're clipping here. We're going to go ahead and just basically click on empty space and drag to select this whole thing. We're going to go over here to property editor where you see simulation properties. Particle distance basically is the distance between the polygons. Right now they're trigons, and I'll show you what I mean. But if we go over here and press this, you'll see that they're triangles, not polygons just yet, and we're gonna fix that. So if we go over here to particle distance, the higher the number, the less polygons. The lower the number, the more polygons, the longer it'll take for your game to load, depending on how many articles of clothing you have in your game with that amount of polygons. What we're gonna go ahead and do, my sweet spot is usually 16. So let's do 16 and let's make it cloth again, and then let's simulate. Okay, so you see how that clipping just kind of stopped Now, I'm also going to show you how to make the triangles, polygons, because I don't know, either one seems to work fine in the game for me, honestly. So it doesn't seem to matter so much. But if you want to make them actual squares instead of triangles, you can go over here to remesh. And that also can kind of make your dress look a little better too. But you can go to remesh. You can press simulate. And then that kind of relaxed it a little bit. So this is what we have here. And honestly, guys, I think this is good enough. This is just to be, you know, like I said, a simple tutorial, nothing too fancy, nothing too difficult. You know, we could add a little pizzazz, but that's not this tutorial. So this is a basic casual type of dress. And you see how easy it was to make that in this program. Let's just say we wanted to change, let's see, the color of the fabric. We're going to click on fabric and you're going to see this change. Now there's a lot of things you can do here, but since this is just a basic tutorial of how to get started, we're not really talking too much about texturing and making materials in Marvelous Designer. We'll do that later. But if you just kind of want to change the color so that it shows up a little better once you get it in Blender, that's perfectly fine. Once you press on the fabric, it'll turn different over here than what it was before. You'll go to color. And honestly, you can just pick a color. You can make it black, although I don't suggest that. I usually, for some reason, like to do like different shades of greens. So let's press OK on that green. And there we go. Now, we're going to save this as a project. Always save it as a project. Even though we have to import it, save this as a project, because if you want to open it back up later and tweak it again, it's easier if it's saved as a project than if you have exported it as an OBJ. For some reason, I can never get mine to re-import correctly. So go over here to File, go over here to Export OBJ. Now, we're going to go over here and you just name it Now, this is the important part. So once you get here, you're going to make sure you click Select All Patterns, unclick Select All Avatars, Single Object, Unweld, then Unified UV Coordinates, Include Internal Shapes, meters, guys, meters. Do not do millimeters, meters. Because if you do millimeters, you're going to pull it up in Blender and it'll be 10 times bigger than your sim. I don't know why. Just make sure you use meters. And then press OK. And actually, I should have told you one more thing, because before you get out of Marvelous Designer, you always want to check the UV editor. Now, usually, if this is your first time doing this dress, UV editor will be fine. But sometimes, when you go to the UV editor before you export, these two things will be on top of each other for no absolute reason at all. Don't know why it does that. Sometimes it does. You can easily unscramble them and just move them around. See how easy it is to do. But just saying. So always check that before you export. Luckily it wasn't mashed up, but that's always something you want to check in Marvelous Designer. So now that we've made our dress, next thing we're going to want to do is go into the Sims 4 Studio so that we can begin to export our nude and export our reference. Okay guys, so now we are in Sims 4 Studio, and believe it or not, this is actually my third time doing this. This part, I had actually recorded the whole video all the way through and went against my better judgment, and instead of checking my mesh in the Sims 4 in the middle of me doing this, I decided to do everything, like put everything together, all the textures, all the swatches, everything together, and then check it, and of course I had made an error. So I would say definitely don't be like me and pay attention to this, what I'm about to do now, because I've tested this out and I know this is going to work. So what we're going to do now that we're in Sims 4 Studio, if you've never used it, you're going to put a creator name here. If you already have your creator name, you're good to go. If you've never used it before, I would say also go to the settings, make sure that your paths are set. for basically so that the Sims 4 Studio is able to find certain things. Make sure it can find your Sims game. Make sure it can find Blender. That's what these do. And if you have that already set up, then you're good to go. What we're going to do is go to Cast and then create 3D mesh and then click Cast. Now, as you can see, this is what pulled up because I had already started searching. So let's say you have not started searching for anything. This is what it will default to, hats. The first thing we want to open up is going to be our nude or our base for our full body clothing or our outfit. So you're going to go, you can type right here actually. You can just begin to type lingerie. And I usually use the black one just because it's black and it's the easiest one to see in Blender. You're going to want to save that as something. So this is your package file. And what I mean by save it, you want to save this package file as whatever you want this to be named so that you can put it in your CC folder, because this nude is your base. So name this whatever you want to name your actual clothing article that's going to go into your games. You're going to upload this somewhere, whatever you want people to have this file as, put that in this file name path right here. So I'm going to put johnnieleemj Johnny dress, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. Then once we get in this screen, as of right now, we don't need the texture, we don't need the categories, we need to go to meshes. And we say in LODS 0, we're going to export mesh. And I export this in my Blender files, and this is honestly the last one I did when I retested it, but I'm just going to go ahead and just put nude body. You can always save this as nude body every single time. I always just do a new one each time. You may not have to, but I do a new one each time and just overwrite the file. So we've done that. Now we need to go back and find a reference for our dress. So normally what I would say is take a look at your dress to see what it looks like and go in Sims 4 Studio, Cast, create 3D mesh. You can undo that. We're doing a female, we're doing adult, we're doing clothing body, we want base game. Now, before I used this and it came out looking absolutely insane. But what I think I want to do instead, what I end up using instead of that actually, I used this right here. Why did I use this right here when it looks nothing like our dress? Well, I know for sure I've used this as a reference on other dresses before and my dresses came out perfect. The reason I'm going to be using this one is because I know it only has one mesh group. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other dresses in here that only have one mesh group that look more close to this dress. But I'm not about to go through all of that. I know this one has one mesh group and that's what I'm going to go ahead and use. So I'm going to click on it. And this particular package file, it doesn't matter what I name it because we're not going to need it. So I'm just going to overwrite it, whichever one I used the last time for my reference, since we don't really need to keep the references. I'm going to go ahead and export this on LODS 0. Again, just overwrite the last one I used. And it's going to export. And that is when we will pull up Blender 2.79 and we will go open. And the first thing you want to open is your nude body. So we've done that. And now the next part is going to be me showing you how to move around in Blender, like the controls and how to maneuver around in Blender. That is going to be the next part of this video. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when you first open up Blender. And this is Blender 2.79 that we're using to do this. Or if you use 2.76 or whatever, as long as it's not 2.70. I would suggest, like I said before, 2.76 or after. So we've opened it up. This is what you're going to see. You don't need any of this. So go over to File, Open, Nude Body. Now, Once you've done that, to get rid of this, because you don't need this whatsoever, press N. Now, in my last video, I did a very in-depth how to move around in Blender. Do I want to do that in this video? Not really, but am I going to do it for you? Yes, I am. Because moving around in Blender, if you know how to do it, it makes it quite a lot easier, because in Blender, the controls are not quite the same as how they are in other 3D programs that I use. Anyway, so in order to get the UV portion open, you want to go ahead and press tab on your keyboard. If you don't want to press tab on your keyboard, you can go down here and go to edit mode. If you don't want to do that, you can go over here and you can press this triangle with the 3 points. Those are the 3 different ways you can get the UV to show up. Now, first I'm going to rename this. I'm going to rename this to nude. There. Now, I usually like to just press tab. It's quick and it's easy. First things first, when we get over here, you notice it's lit up here and it's not lit up here. We want them to both be lit up and make the changes at the same time. Press this right here, keep UV and edit mode mesh selection in sync. Once you press that, what happens on one side happens on both. Now, what was I pressing to get everything to highlight? I was pressing A. Pressing A is going to get everything to highlight at once. I'm going to try to go through these controls as quickly as possible. So A highlights and deselects. So if you have it highlighted and you want to get rid of the highlight, press A. If you want to choose a portion of the grid, press B. You'll get this. Hold down your left click and you see that's what's been chosen. Deselect, press A. Say you get a point and oh my God, I have this point here. You've done that by accident. Go ahead and press the right click. It'll put it right back where it's supposed to go. Or say you have actually just done that and you really do not mean to do that. What you need to press is Control Z. Now say you wanted to redo what you just undid. Control Shift Z. But we don't want to do that. One thing I'll say is you do not want to move the sim mesh body or the nude out of place. You want to leave everything where it is, and we'll have to delete some later, but we want to leave the parts that we're leaving in place. Anyways, so up next, if you want to select something by kind of like drawing it in, if you will, press C. To make this circle smaller, scroll inward on your mouse. That'll make it real small. If you want to make it bigger, scroll out on your mouse and this is what we'll have. It's so big you can't see it anymore. Now, if you want to get rid of it, if you press C and you go, I want to get rid of it, I can't get rid of it, press the right click on your mouse. Now, if we want to move something, let's say we want to move this. We don't really want to, but we want to move this out of the box. Press G. G is for grab. We can, move it around. Put it back, right click. So, say we want to make it bigger. I'm going to select, press S. Do we really want to do that? No, but just for future, it's good to know this. I will not go over these again. So just in case you don't know how to do this, if you do want to remember how to move around in Blender, I am going to timestamp each portion of this video so that you will know where to go. And if you need to refer back, I will refer back because I won't go over this again. But anyway, that's to size it up. S is to scale. Right click to put it back. If we want to scale only on the X axis, we're going to press SX. Only scale on the X axis. If we want to scale on the Y axis, SY. And again, to put it back, I'm just pressing the right click there. If we want to grab it, but only move it on the X axis, we're going to press GX. We want to grab it and only move it on the Y axis, we're going to press GY. And that's that. Now, zooming in is just using your middle scroller to zoom in and out. Moving around the plane, you're going to press inward on your middle scrolly and just move it around. Over here is a little different. In the 3D editor, there's a way, this is like the default, and if you press 1 on your keyboard, it goes to the front perspective, as you see up here. It says front perspective. 2, well, let me get it out of whack. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. And that is just me pressing the numbers on my keyboard. The little side numbers to the right on your keyboard, that's what those do in the 3D editor. Now, zooming out is zooming out, zooming in is zooming in. If we want to rotate over here, we're going to click in, press in with our middle scrolling and just rotate. If you want to move around the plane, there. If you want to move around the plane over here, we're going to go ahead and press shift and then use our middle scrolling to move around. Now, that's basically all of the ways that we can move things around in Blender. And like I said, this portion is specific to moving things around in Blender. Now, the next portion that we're going to do is actually starting to create our mesh. Okay, so you just saw how to move around in Blender, and like I said, I won't really be going into that again. So if you do kind of get stuck in a future part and you need to know how to maneuver in Blender, you might want to go back to that. And like I said, I will have these all timestamped because that part, I just don't feel the need to have to go through that entire part again. So now that we have our nude open, first things first, I need to go over here. Okay. And now we need to go ahead and import our actual mesh from Marvelous Designer. So we're going to go to File, Import, Wavefont OBJ, which stands for Object. Go to wherever we saved it. Make sure when you're choosing, you don't choose MTL. Make sure you choose OBJ, which is Object. And there we go. Our dress is in Blender. And that is great, isn't it? It sure is. So the first thing I want to do, let's see here. First thing I want to do is go ahead and go over here on Johnny dress. Go over here to this upside down triangle with the 3 points, object data. Close that for now. Where it says UV map, what we want to do is change that to UV underscore 0 and make sure it's lowercase. We want to add one and we want to call that UV underscore 1. And this is important because we need to make sure that our UV's names have the same UV names as the EA meshes. So that's why we do that. Now that we have done that, we want to go ahead and append our reference. So we're going to go to File, Append. Go to our reference, go to Object, Studio Mesh 1. Now, should you have been making a different dress and you're just kind of following this tutorial as a reference, not necessarily trying to make this dress, whatever dress you chose is your reference. If you see Studio Mesh 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is, go ahead, choose all of them. And you would just, click and drag if you wanted to do that. But we just want Sims 4 Studio Mesh 1 since that's the dress that I chose and that's the mesh that we have. So we're going to append from library, and when you get in, you're going to see this weird dome shape thing. We don't need that. It's the bone shapes. You can click on that, delete, and rig.001. Go ahead and delete that. And all I did to delete those was just right click next to it and then delete. And we can rename this. I'm going to name it ref, just short for reference, something simple. So now that we have that done, we need to go ahead and do a data transfer. And that is something that is very important. It's easy to do, but it's very important. I would say pay close attention to this portion because it is important. So we want to go to Johnny dress. We want to go over to this wrench, object modifiers, click on that. We want to add modifier. We want to go to data transfer. And in order to do this, you must be in not Salesforce Studio. You must be in Blender, I think 2.76 or later. I use 2.79. So this is 2.79. Anyway, once you do that, you'll go over here, face corner data, nearest face interpolated. In this part where the block is at right here, you're going to choose ref. You're going to go to UVs. You're going to go to all layers next to UVs and click UV1. And next to UV1 by name, you're going to click UV1. All of this down here is automatic. You don't have to worry about that. But you do need to make sure that this turns blue, because if it doesn't turn blue, the UV1 is going to look really weird. And then it's really not even going to show up at all. It might show up, but it might not, honestly. But make sure this is highlighted blue. Make sure UV1 is here and here. Nothing needs to be done here. This should be newest face interpolated. Make sure reference is here. Apply. And what we'll do to make sure that that applied correctly, we're going to go to UV1. And if your dress is stretched out like that, then you've done it right. So that would be correct. If this is what you see, no matter how janky and weird that looks, that is correct. So we're going to go back to UV0. And at this point, we want to go ahead and move this out of the box. So that's moved out of the box at this point. Next thing that we want to go ahead and do, we want to go ahead and go to our nude. We want to hide the reference, and we do that by going by ref, pressing the eyeball. Now all we can see is our nude, which was the lingerie, and our dress that we made. Now we want to go into edit mode. And this part is important. We want to go ahead and delete parts of the body that won't be seen because the dress is covering it. So like this to here to here is, we can delete that, and that will make room for us to properly place the UV for the dress we made. Now I am going to put a warning here before I finish doing this. I told you guys I kind of messed up on the last one that I did. So after this video, it might look slightly different. The UV might look slightly different. Everything else is going to be this dress, same direction, same thing apply. The UV might look slightly different because it's from when I recorded earlier, because those directions still apply. Everything that I said after this part is correct. And actually everything I said before this in my previous one that I did where I messed up was right. I just used the wrong dress as a reference. So that's all. Anyways, I just wanted you to know, just in case you see after this portion of the video and you're like, why does the UV look different? Did I do something wrong? No, it's only going to be slightly different, even if you even tell the difference. But just know you didn't do anything wrong. This is it's from when I recorded earlier, and the deleted parts are just slightly different. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So we want to go ahead and delete parts of the dress that will not be seen. So go ahead and let's select, and remember I'm pressing B. I'm not going to go into it too much, but now we see this orange. We don't see any orange on the skin that can be seen. Right here, right here, right here. Turn it around. Still no. Perfect. Go over here to the empty space with your mouse, press X on your keyboard, and click faces. And then let's see, we could actually go a little bit lower if we wanted to. Oh no, we can't. Let's not do that. It's not safe. Let's go over here and begin to take parts out. Make sure it cannot be seen. Over here, X faces. Let's actually go turn around to the back now. See what we can do. Nope. Faces. Let's go over here again. Let's turn her around. Can't be seen. And we look good. The arms, I'm not going to worry about because there's just a sliver of the arms that is covered. And there's honestly no point in deleting that. And plus, there's no part of the mesh that I'm going to be putting there. So, let's see if we can get a little bit more. Nope, that's not safe. Let's see. Oh no. Yeah, that really didn't do much. Anyways, so I really feel like that's good enough. We're like right there. So that's good enough. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do, in cases where this was maybe another piece of clothing that wasn't as cut and dry as this dress, I would go ahead and select all, open, and open up a placement map. But I don't really need to do that. So let's see, where is my thumbnails? There we go. This is the placement map. And basically, after joining the dress and the nude together, I would make sure that I put it in a place where it will not conflict with other things. Being that this dress is just a front and a back, no strings and bedazzles and nothing else we have to put anywhere else, we don't even need this. So we don't even need it at this point in time. We don't really need it for this particular tutorial. Honestly, we don't. Anyways, so next, what I'm going to go ahead and save this as, because we want to make sure we're saving as we go. And honestly, if I were you, I would save after my data transfer. Being that this is, like I said, my third time doing this, I already have all of this stuff saved, but just make sure you are saving as you go. So I would save this as, you know, data transfer. No, actually I would say this is UV, because this is the first UV I've done. So I save it as UV when I don't have it joined, and then UV2 after I have it joined. Anyway, make sure you're saving. And let's see. Let's go ahead. Since this is the second one I'm doing. There. Or the third one I'm doing. Anyways, now what we want to do, which is also important, we need to join together our dress that we've made in Marvelous Designer and our nude. So in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and click Johnny Dress, shift on your keyboard, left click nude, Control J in the empty space, and now they have both been, they're both nude now. They're together, they're joined. And what we're going to do, we're now going to fit this over here. So let's try to size that down. We can size it down a little bit more. Now we can zoom in some. And I'm just moving this over. So if you're wondering, I'm just highlighting it and I'm just going to move it over. Move it over right there. Try to get it as close to the middle as possible, but it does not have to be perfect. But as close as you can. There. And that's really all that is to that part. Very easy to do that. And now I'm going to save it as UV2. Because now we have the UVs joined and we have the UVs mapped. So now that we've done that part, what we need to do next is make sure that our reference can be seen. And just save it again. And we need to go ahead and open this up in Blender 2.70. And at that point is where we will be doing the weight paint. And then after that, we'll be doing the vertex paint. And we'll be almost done. Okay, so now, since we're in Blender 2.70, this is where we're going to do the weight paint. And in order to do that, we're going to go to File, Open. Whatever you just saved your last one as. If it says expect loss of data, you can ignore that because there will not be a loss of data. It just won't. Now, this part that we closed up earlier, open that back up and go ahead and go to weight paint. Now, what we want to do is go to ref, press ref, shift, click nude or whatever your mesh is saved as after you joined the nude in your mesh. And what we're going to do is go to transfer weights. Once this pops up, you'll know it's been done. So as of right now, we can hide ref, and in a minute we can delete it. But first we're going to go and you're going to start clicking these over here in object data, vertex groups, and you'll start clicking on those. Once you see these popping up, don't assume just because you saw one pop up that it did it right. What you want to do is go, and once you start going up to where your actual mesh is, like this is probably going to be the first one. If you made this dress, you want to make sure that you don't see color, no color, and then color. So it's basically underneath it. You want to see color on your mesh. So we're going to continue, and you don't have to necessarily go all the way up. See, once again, color on the mesh. But I like to just, you know, check. Once I usually see it on the breast, if I've made a dress, I know I've done this correctly. And I don't really have to go any further. So, yeah. Especially this one. As you see, it doesn't disappear and go underneath the dress. It's right there. And that's good. So, we've done that right. We can go ahead and file, save as. And I like to say this is WP for weight paint. We'll go back in Blender 2.79. Go open, one we just saved, and then weight paint. Go ahead and actually, I believe you can, no, actually you can just go ahead and delete the reference now. So you can just go back, delete, file, save, or you can delete it in 2.79 when you open it again. Either way, it's fine. But you don't need the reference anymore. Oh my. My other computer just decided it was going to start speaking. Anyways, so you're going to go ahead and just open up whatever you had, whatever you saved it as, and you can delete it, like I said, and delete the reference in 2.70, 2.79. Either way, it doesn't matter. However, we have it open now. Now, we're going to go to Vertex Paint at this point, and we're going to go into solid mode. Now, you see this white space right here in the middle. We're going to click on that. Go to Hex. This is a dress that is pretty close to the body. So we're going to go to OOFFOO. And we're going to press enter. Now, there is a website that I have saved. And that will show you the different colors for the different vertex groups and things like that, or vertex paints. Anyway, this is what we're using right now, and then right here it kind of gives you an explanation of each one and what it does. And so we're using OOFFOO, so 00FF00, and you press enter, go down here to paint, set vertex colors. Now this is what we're going to be looking like. At this point, you can go ahead and go file, save as, VP for Vertex Paint, save. Go back into your Sims 4 Studio, wherever you saved your nude mesh at, go ahead and import. And import the one that you just did with the Vertex Paint. Now, that'll take a little while. If it takes a little while, that's fine. It's importing a new mesh, so it could take a little while. And basically, once that imports, the next part of the video that you see is going to be from when I recorded earlier. Like I said, everything that follows this is literally exactly, it's perfectly fine. So don't be alarmed. Like I said, if the UV looks slightly different or something like that, the dress is going to look the same. Everything works the same. What I would suggest to you is just to be sure that you did everything right. Once this imports, it's gonna look weird like this because the texture of the lingerie is in the same spot on the UV map right here where your dress is. And that is we're going to cover how to fix that when we talk about putting a new texture on there. You can close that. Anyways, so if we go back into Sims 4 Studio, we see that, this is what we're looking at. You can go here, make that blank, make that blank, make that blank, and there's nothing there. All we need is this, because we're going to go ahead and fix the texture in a minute. If I were you, I would go ahead and just put a default thumbnail of some sort and save this. Put this in your game and make sure it's right. At this point, because what you don't want to do is make the same mistake that I made and have about all these swatches and all this perfect new thumbnail and all this cool stuff, and then you go open it in the game and then you sitting up here looking crazy and your sim might as well be naked because you look so crazy. But that's what I'm saying. I suggest in the CC making process, after this portion, don't do anything else. Put that bad boy in the game. Make sure that it's right. So that's my advice from this portion. But the next portions I'm going to be talking about doing the LODS, which is making sure that the levels of detail are all done. And then I'm going to go for it from there. Okay, so now our mesh has been imported into the Sims 4 Studio, and this is what we're going to look like. Now, you might say, what is going on here? This is weird. Why is the lingerie color on my mesh? Because the texture by default is the lingerie. Now, if you did your UV, let's go back to the UV. Right here, if you notice, right here and right here is about the same spot on the UV map. And that's the reason why it's showing up like that. Now, I kind of actually like how that looks, but no, we're not going to leave it that way. So, eventually we're going to make our own texture for the UV, and this is going to be, we'll get rid of that. But now, if you look here, you'll notice as we're going kind of like this, our dress is disappearing on the back. That is because the normals have not been flipped. Now, do we really want to flip the normals? Honestly, there may not even be any point in flipping the normals on this dress because it's so close to the body. What flipping the normals does, first of all, it is going to double your poly count, making it a longer time to load in Sims 4 Studio, making it possibly, harder on your game to handle. The higher the poly count, the harder it is for the game to handle. So, my computer is pretty good. It can handle that at this point, but I don't necessarily just want to overrun it with, overrun my game with high poly meshes if I don't need to. I will show you how to flip the normals. I know in my last video I said I wasn't going to keep the flip normals dress, or shirt rather, and I end up keeping it. I'm not going to do that because this dress is so close to the body, there's really no point. And it's really only showing at the bottom, if you notice. But I'm going to show you how to flip the normals just in case. Maybe you didn't make a dress quite like mine. Maybe you made something else and your normals have to be flipped or else you're going to be looking crazy. Very easy to do that. What we're going to do, press A. Go ahead and select your mesh. Oh, we don't need all that. Let's just go ahead and do this like so. That way we don't have that problem at the top. Okay. I'll go over here and select this one. This will be a little easier. There. Now, we want to go ahead and take that and go over here and press P, selection. Let me close that at this point. And you see it's made another one. I'm going to go over here, press tab, or get in edit mode, select all, press A. Going to go over here in the empty space and press Control C to copy. Go to tab, get out of edit mode, press Control V to paste. And you notice Bone is back. We don't want her. Go over here, press delete that. Rig 001 is also back. We don't want him either. Delete. Now, first things first, we need to put our address back where it was because we removed it. Let's go ahead, grab this, shift, grab that, Control J. Now that's back to where it needs to be. This one, however, is the one we need our normals flipped on. Go over here, select it, go over here in the empty space, press space bar, begin to type flip, and you're going to see flip header, region, flip normals, and flip region. We want flip normals mesh. And you kind of notice the change there, but now you see when we're going all up under here, this other side is not disappearing. And you're also going to notice that your poly count, which is up here, has definitely increased. Now, like I said, I don't necessarily need to just use this, but I just want to show you how to flip normals, just in case you decided to make a different dress, or in the future you've made a different dress and you decide, you're like, why do I see it on one side and not the other? That's the reason why that is what you need to do in order to basically just double your mesh. Make sure it shows on both sides. And it looks good. I mean, it looks quite a bit like the other one, but like I said, you'll notice as we're going all down here, this is not disappearing itself. So that is how you flip normals in Blender so that your mesh can be double-sided. Now, if you do flip the normals, here's one thing. Public service announcement, you cannot bake a flipped normal texture. Oh yeah, and then don't forget to join these. So I'm gonna do this, and then Control J. Yeah, join them. But like I was saying, you cannot bake a texture on a mesh that has normals flipped. Make sure you're saving as you go so that way, if you do need to flip the normals, you can flip the normals, but make sure you have a version saved before you flip the normals so that when you get ready to bake your texture to put a color on the dress, it actually can bake. It cannot bake a double-sided mesh. So I usually just save this as FN for flipped normals. And I think just for the heck of it, just for showing you, I will import it. And that's probably going to take a little while because it's going to either double it or just about double it. So, okay, so now the flipped normals mesh has been imported. And again, this is why I say I don't necessarily, if you don't have to, you don't have to. But you can now see, you can see that. And then when you go around, you can see it on all sides now. And so we go over here and yes, you can see the poly count has been doubled. I'm like, you know what? I really don't feel, honestly, you guys, I said I wasn't going to, I said I wasn't going to use the flip normals. The reason I'm going to use the flip normals is because I really do not feel like having to go through undoing this. I just waited a decent little bit. My computer is pretty strong, but I just had to wait a decent little while to, get this to import. So I think we're just going to leave it where it is instead of trying to do the other one. And but now, unlike in my last video, I'm going to show you how to do the LODS now because this is something that's important and I don't want to save it to the last minute. So we're on 24,874. That's the poly count. We need this to go lower. The lower we go in LODS, the lower our poly count needs to be. So what am I going to go ahead and do? Go to LOD 1, and as you can see, we don't have our mesh there. What we want to do, open the flip normals. Since that's the one we're going to use. Am I sure I want to use that? I don't really have to. Ugh. I don't know. I'm so indecisive. Anyways, back to the tutorial. So, oh Lord. I think I am going to go ahead and just use the unflip normals because ultimately what's going to happen is it's going to take forever and a year to get these in here. And we don't have time for that. And my waiting was in vain, and that's okay. So whichever one you're using, if you flipped your normals, if you didn't flip your normals, go to whichever one you did. I'm going to go ahead and just go back on my word and just use the one that I did not flip the normals on. In order to make the poly count go lower so that you can put it in the lower LODS, go to the wrench again, object modifiers, add modifier, decimate, and let's move it. There we go. So it was like 14 something. Bring it down a little bit. Apply. File. Save as. And I like to just save it as LOD1. V. Okay, we're going to rename that because apparently we failed royally. LOD1. There. Save it. And there. Okay. Yeah, you guys, you notice since the poly count is lower, it took way less time to upload or to import rather. So LOD1, import mesh, LOD1, add modifier, decimate, or actually go to open. Even though you have that one open, just do this because for some reason when we don't, or when I don't, it may not come out right. And that just happened, but I'm just going to press right click and bring it back to where it's supposed to be. Go ahead and decimate. Bring it down a little bit more. Apply. File, save as. And what incarnation am I doing? File, save as 2. I'm going to go over here. See, it's much shorter time. Yep, I'm just going to continue using the one that does not have the normals flipped. Okay, then we're going to go to File, Open, 2, add modifier, decimate. This is your final LOD. Now, I sometimes upload my things to the Sims resource, and they have this thing. I know this on certain creations, but anyway, where you're supposed to have your lowest LOD no higher than 3,000. And then what I'll do is I'll do a LOD that's lower than the one I just did and then make that LOD 3, and then I'll bring it down to 3,000 and make it LOD TSR. That's just me since I upload sometimes to the Sims resource. So save as 3 and then go over here, LOD 3, import. And you'll see the sim gets more and more weird looking as you go lower. And I'll explain in just a second what exactly that does when you're doing that with the LODs. Okay, apply. File, save as LOD 3, TSR. And I'll have to make another file for that. But anyways, we're not going to worry about that now. Now, what are levels of detail? So if you were to go in your game and you've done all your LODs and you sit there and you zoom out, and it may not be the same way here, but you just zoom all the way out, you will still be able to see your Sims with clothes on. Your Sims clothes will not disappear. That's what LODs are, basically. So we've done that. Imported all the LODs. Now, for the final portion of this video, we're going to go over a few different ways to add a different texture to this dress so it can stop looking a hot mess. Okay guys, so now we are at basically the last few portions of this video where I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add a different texture. Now, like I said before, you're going to want to go back. Even if you went ahead and used your flip normal as your final mesh, you're going to want to go to a version that you should have saved before that where the normals were not flipped. And so this is the one, just Vertex paint is going to show up like this. Go ahead and go to object mode. And then actually we're going to want to go to edit mode. Now, in order, and we can hide that, we don't need it at this point. In order to do the most basic type of texturing in Blender, we're going to stay in Blender render at the top. We're going to stay in Blender render. You're going to want to go over here, and just for you to bake it, you're going to delete the body part. So press A and then just begin to select these portions here. Make sure all of that is selected. Press X over here in the empty space, faces, until you just have this. You're going to go over here to rig. To get rid of this head, you don't want to bake the head. Although the head is not going to bake, you still don't want it there. You just want to see your dress. And you don't want the feet there either. Go to rig and press this plus sign. It's going to turn into a minus sign. Press the eyes, but also press these cameras. And you can just outright press that camera on rig itself. And what exactly that's going to do, guys, that is going to keep from the shadows of those body parts showing up on your mesh. Because if you don't do it, there's a chance that they may happen. They used to always happen to me. I would have random arm shadows on my meshes, and it was so weird. So that's how you get rid of that. Now, lamps. I like for all my lamps to be seen and selectable. That just adds, I don't know, I like how that looks better on my mesh. So if you say, hey, I want it to be this color that I chose in Marvelous Designer, that's perfectly fine. We can do that. But before we do anything else, we need to go over here and press new. And we can title this whatever we want, but J Dress, oh, I forgot I have the caps lock on, J Dress 1. This should be 1024, but this should be 2048. Press OK. Make sure that on in edit mode and not in edit mode, it shows this way. So we're good now, or we should be. Anyways, now we're going to go over here. Get out of edit mode, delete diffuse map. You don't need that any longer. And we just have our dress. Now, to get a better idea of what it's really going to look like, we're going to get in rendered mode. And this is more closely probably what it's going to end up looking like. Go over to the camera, go to dimensions, and under resolution, go up to 100. Now, this is the most basic way to texture. And you can kind of play with these over here. If you go to this right here, this ball with the checker pattern, this is the material tab. You can kind of play with this. But if, like I said, you wanted the exact color that it already was, go over here to the camera. Go over here, go to full render. Under margin, I usually press, for the margin, I go somewhere between 1 and 4. 2 is my magic number. I like how it looks when it's on 2. Any higher, it might look weird. Any lower than 2, it just depends on what your preference is. Go ahead and press bake. And as you see, this is our dress. File, save as image. I'm gonna go to, and no, I'm not saving it as a DDS file. That's just the name of my folder, and I'm not gonna change it because I'm used to that now. So let's go to J Dress 1. Okay, just there. Now we're gonna go over here. We're gonna go in texture. Now, before we add that texture we just made, go to shadow, make blank, specular, make blank, normal, make blank. Now go back to diffuse, import, wherever you just saved it at, JDress. There we go. And that is really one of the most simple ways to texture. Let's just say we want to kind of change that up. Go back in here, make that brighter. And now it's really bright. We can kind of set the intensity to come down some. We can change this. We can change this. Kind of like how that looks. You can change this too. I'm not really too worried about all of that. You can go down here and kind of change some of this stuff and do all that. This is just the basic stuff up here. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to press bake again. And this is what we're looking like. I kind of, let's see what that's like. You can save it as a different image, or you can just continue to save it as the same image and just import it. Add a swatch, import, there. Okay. Those shadows are peculiar. I don't necessarily love it. Let's undo that. Let's go back. Let's go back to, I think this is what it was. And then let's bake. Okay. Yeah, that's a little better. Import again. There we go. Now, if you want to change this color right here, go make sure your mouse is inside of this square right here. Right click it, you'll get a dropper tool. Go over to the color, press left click, and there you have it. There. Now we have 2 swatches so far, but this is just the most basic way that we can do a texture in Blender. I'm going to show you a few different ways, and like I think I'll show you another way in Blender, maybe 2 other ways in Blender. Anyway, the next section is all about the different type of texturing we can do. This was just the most basic. I will show you a few different more complex ways in the next portion. Okay, so I just showed you how to do a basic texture in Blender 2.79, and we're just going to stay in 2.79. honestly. I prefer 2.79 over 2.8 and all of that other stuff, all the other blenders. Make sure you just saved whatever that was as bake or whatever. Save it. Okay, great. Save it as something so that it's distinguished from your Vertex paint. It's distinguished from your flip normals. It's distinguished from everything else. I like to save it as bake. So JDress Bake is what this is saved as at this point. And now we're going to move into Cycles Render. And I love Cycles Render because we can really make this a lot crisper than it is, or than it can be. So we're going to go to Dimensions, make sure we're still at 100. Sampling, I like to go to 200. And Preview, I like to make that 60 at least. And if you just paid attention, you'll notice that went from, like, it was like 15 or something. It was all fuzzy and weird, and then it went really like crisp. I can't say a better word than crisp. It just looks better. And so that's what I like. What is this going to also do is going to make it a little bit longer for you to render. That's okay. Now, what we want to do, now that we're in Cycles Render, we have our sampling up to 200. We have our preview up to 60, and we have our dimensions to 100. That's going to make this look a lot better. So we're going to lift this up, and we're going to go down here, and I just, lifted this up. And what we're going to do is go over here to this clock looking thing, press it, go to Node Editor. Now, the way that we're going to do this, let's go ahead and just get rid of that and press New. And there we have the nodes, and we should still be in rendered mode. These 2 nodes are going to pop up. Here, you can change the color, but you can also add other nodes. And then you just get rid of, if you want to get rid of this portion, which is nothing but basically this anyway, you don't necessarily need it. Press N. I like to use nodes a lot. There's a lot you can do with nodes. Now, first things first, in order for our texture to get over here, we're going to need to also pull up our image texture, which is basically just this. But we'll want to save it as something different. So press Shift and A on your keyboard. This is going to pop up. Go to Texture, Image Texture, right there. Just put it somewhere. You don't have to connect it to these. Press Open. There, wherever you just saved that at. And now we can really get down to some business here. Now, when we're doing this, we can change this up a little, because right now it's kind of plain. It's kind of boring. It's not that cute. Yeah, this is just the basic color. Now, what we can do, Shift A again, Shader, click Mix Shader, and put it right here between this and between this. And you already noticed it's looking a little different than what it did. So let's just delete that, put that back, and you see that looks quite different from this. So now what we want to do, one of my favorite things to add is the glossy shader. Press Shift A, shader. And honestly, you can add quite a few of these, but I do like the glossy. This dress is not really the glossy type, but I'm going to just show you what it does. So now that we've chosen glossy, we're going to just put it down right here, and we're going to click this and drag it here. And look at that. That looks like a cat suit latex thing. We can go over here and we can title this Dress 2. And we're going to make sure we're on Johnny Dress. Go over here, go down to bake. This is going to be different. No need to fear. Leave all of this alone. Just press, go to the margin and put it on 2 or whatever number you had it at, and then bake. And it is going to take a little bit longer. Like before, it was almost instant. But since we have the resolution up high and we have the preview up high and we have everything up high, the render and the preview are up high, it took a little bit longer. But look at how detailed that is. That is so good. Now, save as image, JDress 2, save. Go over here, add a swatch, import. And look at that. Look at how great that is. What is this business going on over here? I don't know, but it's not that bad, but I still don't necessarily just like it. Anyway, we're fine. I'll figure out what that is in a minute. But you see what we're looking like. That looks really good. Or if you want it to look like that. So if you're doing a cat suit or something, I might even do a tutorial on that. I don't know. This is good. Glossy is good. And you can honestly change the amount of glossiness. You can make it have, I kind of like that, how that looked. Let's bake that and see if that looks any different. And guys, this is just, I'm not going to go too in depth with this, but like I said, this is just showing you different ways that you can add a texture to your mesh, So let's go and import that. Ooh, look at that. More gloss. And honestly, I'm just going to leave those. I'm just going to show you guys what they look like in the game. The different amounts of glossiness, all of that. Anyways, so that is how you can use the nodes. I don't want to go too in depth on the nodes because there's so many different ways you can use the nodes. Let's just go to this one. This is one I kind of liked. And that just kind of does that whole thing there. You could turn that up and down. 1 is the highest you can go. Honestly, I think I'm going to change this color. But you see how that turned out. It kind of does give it that velvety look, if you will, because that's the velvet one, the velvet shader. And that kind of gives you see what that is though. You see it. Image, save image. Let's just go over here. Add a swatch, import. And yeah, it has that kind of velvety appeal to it. And if you're wondering why this is like this has to do with the shadows of the lamp, honestly. And that's why that's like that. But anyways, so that is how you would do a texture using the node system in Blender 2.79. Blender 2.79 works quite the same. And if you want to also use nodes in Cycles Render and you want to use let's say you want to use some sort of, texture that you found online. If you use the website Blender Mata, there's several other websites, but that's just the main one I use. And you found, let me just go over here. under my materials. This is page 5. Let's go to page 1. Anyway, this is just different materials that you can put in Blender. Some of these are for if you're creating like actual, you know, like worlds and stuff in Blender. We're not really doing all that, but this is, you know, this is a different kind that they have. So if you want to do that, very easy. All you have to do is go to File, Append. Now, wherever you would have those saved, I have mine in Blender Fabrics and Materials. And let's just say you want to go ahead and add, let's just see, satin is one of just very simple ones. Now what I did, because I didn't explain what I did, let me go back. You want satin, you click on satin, you click on material, you click on this. It's going to take you out of it like, oh my God, where did it go? You're fine. Just go back in, append, go back to satin, go to node tree. Now you're saying, well, it's still not showing up. That's fine. You're going to go over to this ball again, to the materials tab. You're going to go right here, and where you see satin, you're going to click. And this is what we have. This is the satin. Kind of reminds me of the glossy that we had earlier. And as you see, it has quite a bit of glossiness on it, which can be changed. So let's just bring it back to how it was. Now, we can change the color here. Do whatever we want to do with the color. We can even continue. We can add our own glossy shader to it. We can add our velvet shader. We can do so much, but I'm not going to do all of that. What I am going to do though, because what we need, if you notice, our image texture is gone. And we need that back. File, open, wherever you saved it. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to bake. Oh, wait a minute. Make sure you're on Johnny Dress. My voice is getting a little scratchy. Make sure you're on Johnny Dress when you're doing this. So, bake. And it's going to take a little bit longer. But once we're finished, we should be good to go. And this is what we ended up with. Image. Save as image. Let's make this 3. And let's go ahead and import it. And there we go. That's what we look like. I honestly though, anyway, I could do so many things. You could play with this all day and night. This is kind of a long section. Honestly, if you don't even want to watch any of the ways I textured it, once we finished with the portion about doing the LODS, you're basically done. And you can texture however you see fit to do so. These are just to help you out if you really don't know anything, and you just really need help, or you just want to, you know, get a little better with what you're doing. Because I'm still pretty new to this, so I'm not even just like an expert or anything. I just, you know, want to help someone out, and this is the way I feel like doing it. So this portion is basically over. The next thing that we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to use a 2D editing software in order to add texture, and we'll basically be done. So we are now at the very last part of the video, and like I said, I'm going to show you how to use a 2D picture editing software in order to add a texture to your mesh. And so what we're going to do, as you see, I already have a few things open here. Go ahead and open up the most basic bake of your dress. And once that is open, the easiest way to just add a texture to that is just go on Google. And as you can see, I've already started, this is a different way I'm going to show you how to do it, but just go on Google and type, let's see, zebra print or whatever, zebra print, black and white stripes, whatever. Find you something that you like, and as you can see, this is one of the ones I have saved right here, even though I don't necessarily even want to use it. I actually just want to use this. This is pretty simple. Basically what I'm trying to say is find a picture that you would like to see on your clothing. That's all I'm saying. Google it, save it, whatever you want to do. Open it up in paint.net. Now, this is the easiest way to texture something, minus the simple way to do it in Blender. If you're still not comfortable with doing it in Blender, this is the next easiest way. Go ahead and open up whatever the texture was. This is very simple black and white stripe. And you see I have a belt here. I'll show you what to do with that later. Go ahead, go to this arrow, click on this, copy. Go over here to your dress, go right here to layers, and how to make sure that that's up. These 3 things, or these 4 things at the top rather. This one is layers, this one's the color wheel, this one's the history, and that's your toolbar. Make sure all of them are up. Go ahead over here to background, add a layer. On the layer you just added, paste that. Conform it to your mesh. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Go over here, bring it over here to the back one. The back needs color too, guys. To get that to stop floating or to stop doing that line, go to this rectangle select and just press somewhere. Now, grab this wand here. You don't need to change any of this other stuff. Go here, click somewhere over here, click background, click somewhere over here again, and as you can see, there's a cutout. Go to layer 2, press delete on your keyboard. And looky there, what we have here. Now, file, save as. We want to save it as a PNG. And we're going to go ahead and make this number 4 because I think I already have 1 through 3. We're going to make this 4. And save. And now we're going to go into Sims 4 Studio. We already have an extra swatch added. And there we have it. Look at that. That is so great. Is it not? Yes, it is. Very easy. Like I said, that to me is the very easiest way to texture something. Now, you saw that belt I had. Say you want to add a belt to it. Ooh, this is cool. Go ahead, go right here, click on this, copy, and you can go to add a new layer again and paste. And of course, we don't want the belt that big. Go ahead and size it down. Size it down a little bit more. This is how easy it is to just add some simple little accent belt. Now, of course, it's not going to be 3-dimensional because you would have to have made that probably through Marvelous Designer or Blender and put that on the dress when you're doing the actual meshing process. But if you just want a little cute little belt on here that you don't mind being flat, do that. Merge it down. Save. Add a swatch, and actually we can make that, well, let's make that black. Let's make that white and go over here. Import number 4. There's our belt. Look at that, guys. We just added a belt to a dress. Now, you can also put it on this side if you want it to wrap around. I don't really care about mine wrapping around because I know it's not a real belt. And for this one, we're going to add red. And there we go. Look how easy that was. And look how cute that turned out. Very easy. Now, you can bring it around a little bit more if you want to, you know, just do that. But I like this just fine. Now, the next way that we can use a 2D editing software. Go up to history and go back to open image. Because you already have that saved, we're fine. Now, I also have GIMP open, and as you can see, I have pictures of dresses. I just went to Google and just typed in work dresses because I feel like that's what that is. It's like a work dress. And what we're going to go ahead and do for that, we want to get this dress on here. If you are in GIMP, which is what I suggest to use this because Paint.net can be kind of janky sometimes. This one is too dark for me. It's just completely black and you can't really see the detail. I don't know about these pleats. I like this one. I kind of like this one too. This one, I feel like, I'm not sure. Let's just go with this one. This is seemingly the easiest one. Go up here and choose this free select tool. Also in group, if you hold it down, you'll get the scissor select and the foreground select. We don't need that. We want free select. And basically we're just kind of like how we started in Marvelous Designer, just drawing points. We're just going to add points on here to kind of fit that outline closely. And this does not have to be perfect, guys, because it's not going to be. Nothing is perfect. But we just want the outline. And personally, what I like to do the top and then do the bottom. That just, I don't know, I just like that better for me. Now, we're going to go ahead, and now that we have joined this all together, we can edit it and do all that and whatever. I don't necessarily just need to do that though. So I'm going to press, oh, whoops, Control C. And what I like to do is go over here and Paint.net, go to New, and just do a default 500 by 500. That's usually big enough. Add a layer, paste whatever you just cut out to that layer, go to this layer, undo it, well, unsee it, delete it, and save this, because you may want to do this on an outfit later. Sometimes you have to play with these things, guys. And I just have different dress cutouts too. Whatever, there. But anyway, we copied it, and now we're gonna add a layer, paste. Now this is way too big. I see that as well. We want this to cover the top. Well enough. This is good enough. And we're just going to do the same thing we did last time. Get that magic wand. Back, back, back. Delete. But you see, we still have some. So if we need to go back, we do that. Just go back and kind of move it up some. If you want to move it over a little bit, we can do that. Rectangle again. Wand, back, back, back. Layer. Delete on the keyboard. Okay, I like that. Now, let's go back in GIMP. We're not done. And actually, guys, if you wanted to do this and this side at the same time, that's fine too. Anyways, now that we have that done, we're going to go back to base image. We've saved the top just in case we need it again later. Now we're going to do the bottom. And I don't like that. No. Okay. Let's go ahead. Go just under it. And we need to get, like I said, just as close as you can. Nothing is perfect. We can bring that in a little bit. There we go. There. Now, Control C. And we go back to Paint.net, File, New. And again, we can do that default 500 by 500. That's usually big enough. Add a layer, paste. It's basically perfect. Unsee this layer, delete this. Oh, unsee this layer, delete this layer. We've already copied. Now we go over here. I say we can merge that down and just add a new layer. Control V paste. And we kind of need to go over a little bit more, go over a little bit. We don't want to rotate, we just want to go over. There we go. And then honestly, if you want to just paste it again and go ahead and do these at the same time, we can do that too, because that's going to save us some time and some effort. There, it's already done. Okay, now once again, rectangle select, 1, 1, 1. Delete. There. And we can merge this down and we can save. Go over here, add a swatch, import. Let's see the damage we've done, guys. That looks good. I like that. I like that a lot, y'all. That looked real good to me. It could probably be better, but again, you have time to play with settings, and this video has already been too long, but you see what we have, and you know, you can change the color on that. We've saved it. If I like to change colors in GIMP, so I'm going to open it up in GIMP and just show you very, very quickly, because I'm pretty sure you're ready for this to be over if you even got this far. Anyway, we can go over here. And what I like to do, I mean, you can go to hue and saturation, but it's gray. There's not much else you're going to be able to do with that. So first you might want to go to colorize and just, you know, play around with that. Kind of like that. There we go. That's just good enough. And then overwrite, or you can export as something new, import. And there. And that is basically it, guys. So I have showed you guys how to do quite a bit in this video. We have made our mesh, we have textured our mesh, we've baked our mesh, we've done a lot of different things. And you know, I really do hope that this video was helpful with making dresses in The Sims 4 and going through the whole process with you. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. Please go ahead and like this video if you did like it and if you learned something from it. And feel free to subscribe to my channel, because I most certainly will be making more of these videos. I feel like there should be more videos out about how to make custom content in The Sims 4. It seems like such guarded information to me. And sometimes trying to get this information is like pulling teeth. And I just don't want it to be that way. You know, my channel, even though I still will do my mental health videos and things like that, which I haven't done one in a while, I will continue with that. But I will also continue with my different tutorials and things like that, because I just like to help someone. So I hope this was helpful. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, and y'all have a good one.